Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Holy smokes. We need to talk about SpaceX, because if the rumors and reports are true, we could be looking at one of the biggest IPOs in modern financial history. And once you start digging through the numbers, the structure, the cash flow, and where this company is actually making money, this thing gets really interesting really fast. Now, before we jump into this, I do need to say this. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is not financial advice. Always do your own research before investing in any stock, especially highly speculative IPOs. All right, let's get right into the juicy stuff. The first thing I always want to understand with a company like this is, where is the money actually coming from? Because most people hear SpaceX and immediately think rockets, launches, Mars, astronauts, explosions. But financially, that is not actually the core story here. The real story is Starlink. And honestly, I think a lot of people still underestimate how massive Starlink could become. We are talking about satellite internet infrastructure on a global scale. Homes, RVs, airplanes, military operations, ships, rural communities, emergency response systems, potential direct-to-phone connectivity, eventually. This is recurring subscription revenue, and Wall Street loves recurring subscription revenue, because predictable monthly cash flow is way easier to value than one-off launches. Now, according to some of the financial discussions surrounding the IPO paperwork, launch services appear to make up only a relatively small portion of total company revenue. Meanwhile, Starlink appears to be the monster. That is the business carrying the company financially. And honestly, that changes the entire investment thesis around SpaceX. Because investors may think they are buying a space company, when in reality they are buying one of the world's largest future communications infrastructure businesses. Now then, we get into the AI side of this. And this is where things start getting expensive very quickly, because SpaceX has increasingly become tied into the broader Elon Musk ecosystem, including AI infrastructure, computing power, data centers, and hardware expansion. And holy smokes, that burns cash fast. Now, one thing that immediately stood out from the reference numbers was just how aggressively the company appears to be spending right now. Research and development spending is massive. Infrastructure spending is massive, expansion spending is massive, and depending on how much AI infrastructure gets rolled into this ecosystem, those costs could continue climbing aggressively. Now, to be fair, a company losing money during aggressive growth phases is not automatically a bad thing. People mocked Amazon during heavy expansion. People doubted Uber for years. Some growth companies eventually become money-printing machines. Others never figure it out. And that is the big question investors need to ask here. At what point does SpaceX consistently generate profits at the scale investors are expecting? Because eventually Wall Street stops asking, how fast are you growing? And starts asking, when do shareholders actually make money? And that transition matters a lot. Now, before we continue, quick disclaimer and a quick shout out. If you are looking for an easy-to-use financial platform that combines personal banking, savings, loans, credit cards, investing, and crypto all in one place, you can check out SOFI. Right now, eligible new users may be able to earn a bonus when opening a checking and savings account and setting up qualifying direct deposit. At the time of recording, the offer includes a possible $25 bonus for opening an account, plus additional direct deposit bonuses for eligible users. Terms and conditions apply. This is a referral link, which means I may receive a referral bonus if you sign up through it, so it helps support the channel at no additional cost to you. This video is not sponsored by SOFI, and this is not financial advice. Always do your own research and review all terms before opening any financial account. Check out the link in the description. Now, back to the video. One thing investors really need to understand here is the share structure. Because this likely is not going to be a normal IPO. Reports suggest there could be dual-class shares involved, meaning Elon Musk will likely maintain overwhelming voting control over the company even after it goes public. And honestly, that should surprise absolutely nobody. Elon clearly does not want outside shareholders controlling the direction of his companies anymore. So even if public investors own shares, they may not actually have meaningful voting power. Now, some investors love that. They believe Elon's leadership is exactly why these companies succeed in the first place. Others see it as a major governance risk. And honestly, both arguments are fair. Because whether you love Elon Musk or hate him, one thing is undeniable. The guy makes enormous long-term bets. Sometimes they work brilliantly. Sometimes they create complete chaos. But either way, investors need to understand exactly what they are buying into here. Now let's talk valuation, because this is where things could get absolutely insane. There are already people online throwing around trillion-dollar discussions surrounding SpaceX long-term. And if retail investor hype kicks in the same way it did during peak Tesla mania, this thing could become one of the most emotionally traded IPOs we have seen in years. But investors need to stay grounded. A great company does not automatically mean a great stock price. Those are two very different things. And one of the more interesting comparisons floating around right now is comparing SpaceX to companies like NVIDIA. Because while SpaceX is incredibly exciting, NVIDIA is currently generating absurd amounts of revenue and profit at a scale that is honestly hard to comprehend. So investors need to ask themselves, how much future growth is already priced into a potential SpaceX valuation? Because if expectations become too extreme, the company may struggle to satisfy Wall Street, no matter how impressive the business actually is. And we have seen that happen before. Now, another thing people are not discussing enough is geopolitical importance. SpaceX is no longer just a private company. Governments rely on it, military operations rely on it, communication systems rely on it, emergency systems rely on it, and that creates both opportunity and risk. Because once a company becomes strategically important infrastructure, governments start paying close attention, regulators start paying close attention, political pressure increases, international scrutiny increases, especially with something like Starlink operating globally. And honestly, that could become a huge factor in the future growth story here. Now, personally, I think this IPO instantly becomes one of the most watched stocks on Earth, not just because of Elon Musk, but because SpaceX sits at the center of multiple massive industries all at once. Artificial intelligence, defense, satellite communications, space exploration, internet infrastructure, potential robotics applications eventually. That is an unbelievably powerful Wall Street narrative. But narratives alone are not enough. Eventually fundamentals matter. Eventually cash flow matters. Eventually profitability matters. And that is why this IPO is going to be fascinating to watch. Because regardless of whether you are bullish or bearish, everybody is going to be paying attention to this thing. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and let me know down below. Would you buy SpaceX stock at IPO? Or do you think the valuation hype could spiral completely out of control? And as always, this content is for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.